For billions of us, it's just a part of our day, a way we connect, share our lives, see what's going on in the world. But what's really going on behind that famous like button? Well, it turns out there's a whole decade of controversy. And today, we're going to dig into the staggering, often unseen costs of all that connection.
First off, to really get the impact here, you have to wrap your head around the scale. We're not talking about millions of users, we're talking about more than 3 billion people. Yeah, billion with a B, every single month. If you add up Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, that is almost half the entire planet using a service from just one company. That's insane.
So when you've got that kind of scale, it forces us to ask a really critical question. What is the true cost of all that connection? Because let's be real, when one single company has that much power over how we talk to each other, well, the stakes just couldn't be any higher.
Okay, so let's start with the big picture stuff. The platform's power over politics and really over entire societies. And look, this goes way beyond just sharing pictures of your lunch or your last vacation. We're talking about the raw power to actually shape world events, and not always for the better, sometimes with absolutely devastating results. I really want you to just let this one sink in for a second. This isn't some blogger's opinion or a wild accusation. These are the actual words from United Nations investigators. They found that Facebook played a determining role in inciting what amounted to genocide in Myanmar. It's just maybe the most shocking and terrifying example of how what happens online can lead to fatal consequences in the real world.
And the really tragic thing is, what happened in Myanmar wasn't just some one-off incident. Not at all. When you look back over the last decade, you start to see a really disturbing pattern. From influencing elections, to allowing illegal discrimination in housing ads, to its algorithms actively fueling extremism, the impact on society has been huge, and honestly, a lot of it has been pretty destructive.
Now, you've probably heard of this one, the Cambridge Analytica scandal. For a lot of us, this was the big wake-up call, right? The moment we all kind of realized our personal data wasn't nearly as safe as we thought. Data from 87 million users, just harvested without their consent, and then basically weaponized to build these detailed psychological profiles. And what was the goal? To try and influence an election.
But here's the absolute kicker. This wasn't some accident or a glitch in the system. No, internal documents later revealed that the company knew. They knew their own algorithms were pushing people down these rabbit holes of extremism. And why? Well, the reason was depressingly simple. Outrage gets clicks. It gets engagement. And engagement is what keeps people glued to the platform. People proposed fixes, but in the end, they were pretty much ignored because growth was the priority.
So all this stuff doesn't just happen on some abstract societal level, right? It trickles all the way down to you and me, to the individual user. And for a service that we're always told is free, it turns out its users have paid a really, really high price.
Check out this number. $650 million. That is one of the biggest consumer privacy settlements ever. And where did that money go? It was paid out because the platform was literally scanning people's faces in photos, collecting biometric data without getting their clear permission first. It's that classic stark reminder, isn't it? When you're not paying for the product, you are the product.
And these costs aren't just about money or data. They're deeply, deeply human. $52 million. That might seem like a smaller number, but this one's heartbreaking. That's how much was paid to content moderators. These are the people hired to be the frontline defense who have to look at the absolute worst stuff on the internet all day to keep it off your feed. Many of them develop PTSD from that constant exposure to violence and trauma. That $52 million, that's the price tag for their psychological damage.
This next one really gets at the disconnect between what the company says publicly and what it does behind the scenes. On one side, you have the stated goal, a better user experience. Sounds great, right? But the reality was a secret psychological experiment. Back in 2012, they secretly changed the news feeds for almost 700,000 people without telling them, just to see if they could actually manipulate their emotions. Think about that, a non-consensual mood experiment on a massive scale.
And then there's Instagram. Some of the most damning information actually came from the company's own research. Their internal data was crystal clear. They found that the app was harmful and that it made body image issues worse for 1 out of every 3 teen girls who already struggle with them. But here's the part of the story that always gets me. They knew. This wasn't a surprise. They knew about it, and the product stayed the same.
So you have to ask yourself, how does this stuff keep happening over and over again? It's easy to think it's just one bad decision here, or maybe one rogue team there. But the real problem, it's deeper. It's baked into the very systems and the internal rules that the company built for itself.
Take this system they called XCheck, or cross-check. Okay, so what was it? Basically, it was a secret VIP list, a whitelist for millions of high-profile users. And what it meant was simple. There was one set of rules for regular people like you and me, and a completely different set of rules for the politicians, celebrities, and big-shot influencers on this secret list. They could break the rules, post harmful stuff, and face little to no consequence. It was plain and simple, a two-tiered system of justice.
And what's really interesting is that even when they tried to do something that looked good on the surface, it could backfire. Take the Free Basics program. The idea was to bring internet access to people in developing countries. Sounds great, right? But it ended up getting banned in India. Why? Well, critics said it completely violated net neutrality. You know, that core idea that all internet traffic should be treated equally. Instead of giving people the real, whole internet, Free Basics offered this tiny, Facebook-approved slice of it, a walled garden, where, surprise, surprise, their own services got top billing.
So when you put all of this together, the political stuff, the harm to users, these flawed internal systems, you realize it all points back to one single central conflict. You could call it the engagement dilemma, and it really is right at the very heart of how this whole machine works.
So let's just break down how this engine really works. It's pretty simple, actually. Step 1, the algorithm is built to promote whatever gets the most engagement. You know, likes, comments, shares, all that stuff. Step 2, it just so happens that extreme, angry, divisive, and yeah, often totally false content is super engaging. It gets people fired up. So what's step 3? Well, as a result, all that harmful content spreads like wildfire. But from the company's point of view, hey, platform growth is up and profits are maximized. It's a really vicious cycle.
And if you need any more proof, just listen to this quote. It's from their own internal documents from their own employees. It really just hits the nail on the head. It says, leadership knows how to make Facebook and Instagram safer. They know exactly how to do it, but they won't make the changes because they have put their, quote, astronomical profits before people. I mean, it doesn't get much clearer than that.
So at the end of the day, all of this leaves us with a huge, fundamental question for our time, doesn't it? I mean, these platforms, they become our digital town square. It's where we debate, it's where we organize, it's where we live so much of our lives. So after seeing all of this, the big question is, who should be writing the rules for that space? Should it just be a private company that's driven by profit? Or should we, the public, actually have a say in how our shared digital world is run? That's really the question we all need to be thinking about.